What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, and welcome to Logically Left. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and I've got a pretty good show for you all today. We've got fun stuff, the usual mix. We got some fun, we got some disaster, we got news, we got politics, we got opinions, lots of opinions. And so, fun times, as usual. We're going to start out with Mike Pillow. Yes. Mike Lindell back. Well, not on the show, but I'm be talking about him anyway. Fun times on that one. Not for him, but for us, absolutely. Apparently, Donald Trump is not happy about the parade. Oh, really? Oh, fun times. I mean, I don't know. Sounds like there's a whole lot of enthusiasm there for that parade. So I don't understand what the problem is. We've got the Trump coalition is falling apart. Why? Well, the little thing called Iran. So that's fun. And also, I really hope we don't end up in World War III. We've got Don Jr. getting fact-checked on News Nation. That's always fun. And then, of course, Bernie Sanders endorses a candidate for New York City mayor. I look forward to talking about that. So that's going to be awesome. All right. No, I just gave it away, didn't I? Damn me for always burying the freaking lead. Giving away too much. But anyway, it's going to be a great show. So so stay tuned. Please like and share if you haven't already. And stick around. It's going to be great. So let's do it. Let's start out with a little bit of pillow talk.
God gave me this platform.
I want to talk to Mike Lindell.
I already know I'm going to win.
China did our vote.
No, they're not lumpy pillows.
Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence. You're an asshole.
This was attacked.
Asshole.
Bad news for Mike Lindell, the lumpy pillow pusher, has lost yet another lawsuit related to his claims about the 2020 presidential election, which feels like a lifetime ago, but there it is. On Monday, a jury found the MyPillow CEO guilty of defaming Eric Coomer, a former security and product strategy director for Dominion Voting Systems. And now a court is awarding him about $2.3 million in damages.
Oh, no.
Okay. Oh, yes. Lindell, of course, is infamous for spreading baseless conspiracy theories about the 2020 presidential election, as I mentioned, and the voting machines, which claimed without any evidence that it was the Chinese, the Iranians, the Pomeranians, or whoever else that hacked the election and stole the votes from Donald Trump. It is rather interesting how the Democrats had this elaborate voter fraud system in place and yet somehow still lost 2024. Kind of invalidates your argument, doesn't it? Weird. Now, of course, these conspiracies ended up costing Lindell a great deal of his wealth. He said that he was once worth roughly about $60 million and is now allegedly $10 million in debt. I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to believe anything that he says, but certainly he seems to have lost a lot of money because of the lawsuits and all the weirdo symposiums he put together to try to spread these nonsense claims of voter fraud. And the fact, of course, that now nobody apparently wants to buy his lumpy pillows anymore. So, yeah, not good. Now, Lindell's lawyers, of course, and yes, he somehow still has lawyers. I don't know how. They must be working pro bono or something. I don't know. They claim that Lindell's statements were, oh, man, that was my free speech, First Amendment rights. Really? How so? Well, they claim that, hey, elections are a matter of public concern. That means that I have free speech. Yes, the First Amendment obviously does protect you from the government coming after you. But this is not the government. This is a civil lawsuit, a defamation lawsuit. And so, I mean, come on. Really? Coomer's lawyers then successfully made the argument that, hey man, look, old boy defamed us. Okay, that's really it. All right, we were defamed. And again, that's because Lindell had accused Coomer of a crime, which is pretty serious, a pretty serious crime. Tampering with elections is a criminal offense. So right there, that accusation obviously gave a lot of Coomer a lot of standing in court to claim defamation. Coomer said his career, mental health, and his life in general have been destroyed after Lindell essentially accused him of treason. Statements streamed on Lindell's online media platform, formerly called Frank Speech, accused him of stealing the 2020 election. Now, the former Dominion employee's lawyers claim that Lindell either knew that the statements were false or they were conveyed recklessly without knowing whether they were true. That is the bar for defamation, which is actually pretty high. Now, the fact that, yes, he has been found by a jury guilty of defaming Coomer's character shows you how brazenly Lindell and the others on his network had lied. Now, during the case, Lindell, of course, stood by the conspiracy theories, but he denied making any statements he knew to be false about Coomer. Of course, he also said he never accused Coomer of rigging the election, and that, hey, man, I've got a lot of people traitors. That's not good. That's terrible. Like, calling people traitors, especially when you know they're not. Okay. Now, his lawyers did claim, of course, that Lindell's platform is not liable for any statements made by other people, and claim that Coomer's reputation was already in the trash before they started lying about him. Now, that said, there is one part of this where Lindell's lawyers were actually successful. See, originally Coomer was seeking about $62.7 million in damages. He got way far less than that, $2.3 million, still a lot. But the jury basically said, yeah, look, we're not buying the argument that Lindell is responsible for what other people said on his platform. And you know what? I agree with that decision. That is Section 230. It basically says that platforms are not responsible for the stuff that people say on them. Okay, that said, Coomer won a gigantic victory. His attorney, Charles Kane, said this, quote, generally, what this verdict says is individuals who are singled out can get vindication in the courthouse. And hopefully this serves as a deterrent for individuals working on our elections from being targeted. Well, that is the overall goal here, to stop going after election workers and accusing them of being part of these insane conspiracies. Now, funny enough, Lindell is taking a victory lap. I don't quite understand, but here's what he said, quote, this is a huge victory for our country. The big win is you cannot attack USA companies and expect it's going to work. Hold on, who attacked the company? You did. You attacked Dominion Voting Systems, and specifically this person, Coomer, right? This former employee, and not only that, but Smartmatic, and of course, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you cheer this on? You still owe $2.3 million in damages. But anyway, of course, he's going to appeal because that's what they all do. They look, they get judgments against them, and they just sit there and appeal ad infinitum. That's what Donald Trump did. And look, this guy hasn't even paid the data analyst who successfully completed the Prove Mike Wrong challenge by proving Mike wrong. Still owes him $5 million. Now, of course, he's also claiming, I'm out of money. I don't have any money. I'm so incredibly broke, you guys. You don't understand. I don't have any money, man. Funny enough, he seems to be finding enough money to keep hiring lawyers and doing these court challenges. Unless I mentioned they're doing it for free, which would make no sense to me. Why embarrass yourself like this unless you're getting, at least you're getting paid to? I don't know. So either he's hiding millions of dollars in his mattress or his lumpy pillows, or somebody else is funding them, or maybe it's both. I don't know. Either way, at some point, old Mikey's going to have to pay the piper. And when that happens, I can guarantee that there will be no soft landing. And there you go. Moving on here. Always fun times with Mike Billow. Following the dismal turnout for Donald Trump's military parade, the 47th president allegedly flew into a rage, his target, of course, being Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. According to biographer Michael Wolff, the taco president lashed out at Hegseth. Wolff told the Daily Beast podcast that Trump basically didn't get what he wanted out of this parade. And what did he actually want? It turns out that it wasn't people showing up necessarily. It wasn't necessarily what he wanted from this parade. Really, what he wanted, according to Wolff, is that he wanted a menacing show of force. Ah, okay. All right. But instead, he's mad that he got a festive parade. Wolff said, quote, he's pissed off at the soldiers. He's accusing them of hamming it up. And by that, he seems to mean that they were having a good time, that they were waving, that they were enjoying themselves and showing a convivial face rather than a military face. So, okay, hold on here. Let me get this straight. It was not the terrible turnout that upsets Trump, okay? But instead, the fact that the people marching in the parade were having too much fun. How dare you have fun? You're supposed to be scary. Wait a minute, it's a parade. It is supposed to be a bit jovial, okay? Even if they tried to make it intimidating, it's kind of hard to take this seriously. Gotta love the squeaking, okay? Along with, of course, the absence of a large crowd. And, of course, you had members of the military apparently giving an FU by marching out of sync and trying to have a decent time. And what they all probably knew was a ridiculous idea. Guess you might as well try to have fun with it, right? And, of course, these soldiers, look, the military does not want to be overtly political, okay? Especially by being part of these marches. But this march was meant to be, by Trump, political. So, I mean, what do, right? You do what you did, what they did, which is to not have, not be too serious, to try to have a good time, and don't take things, once again, too seriously. Now, of course, Trump was not thrilled with this result, and apparently, according to Wolff, he kind of reamed out Hegseth for this, which, it'd be kind of funny going in and kind of interrupting the afternoon drink that Hegseth, allegedly has. Pete, what are you doing? Put down the beer, put down the vodka for a second here, okay? And listen to me, all right? I got a real problem with this. And of course, Hegseth probably was like, No, I'm going to drink more before you yell at me. Allow me to finish the bottle. Okay. Look, apparently, getting back to Wolf here, apparently there was a phone call and he said to Hegseth, the tone was all wrong. Why was the tone wrong? Who staged this? There was the tone problem. Trump, he keeps repeating himself. There was a tone problem. Yes. And now, he said it didn't send the message that he apparently wanted, which is that he was the commander-in-chief of this menacing enterprise. And there it is. Here's the thing. Donald Trump desperately wants to be feared by his enemies, not mocked. Now, of course, this parade, the result of it was intense mockery, which obviously set the White House off even more. Okay, he was not happy about this. In fact, in response to Wolf's statement, the White House called him a, quote, lying sack of shit that has been proven to be a fraud. No, you better not write in the paper that I'm upset. I'm not upset. I'm not upset. Quote, he routinely fabricates stories originating from his sick and warped imagination, only possible because he has a severe and debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome that has rotted his peanut-sized brain, said White House Communications Director Stephen Chung. That right there is probably the best projection I have ever witnessed. It's so good. It's so good. How can you get mad at that? No, you can't. I mean, I love it. Now, of course, publicly, Trump claims, a great success, very tremendous turnout. I loved it. That's even after this failed parade was overshadowed by the No Kings demonstrations that brought millions of people out against Trump across the country. Yes, they were out to protest against Donald Trump's blatantly illegal immigration raids and the other policies, of course, that they don't like. Of course, that entire No Kings thing's got to be a real sore spot for him. Real sore spot. So much so that apparently Fox News, allegedly added fake applause to their coverage of Trump's speech. Users on social media pointed out that footage of Trump's remarks during the event, which aired on Fox, was accompanied by applause sounds that didn't quite sound real, and compared it to footage from other networks, like this video.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you to Vice President Vance, and thank you to our wonderful First Lady, and above all, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you to Vice President.
Apparently, other networks in both Europe and Asia recorded no applause. So it was only Fox News that had the applause added in. Oh, of course, very curious. Look, here's the thing, though. Trump comes from reality TV. He's obviously very close to wrestling. And so, of course, they would edit in applause for wrestlers that, the crowd wasn't exactly feeling. And so, yes, you add that in, makes them appear to be more popular than they are. Wouldn't be a shocker if that's what Fox News did in a vain effort to protect Donald Trump's feelings and to give the impression that he is beloved by all the people, when in reality, the majority can't stand him. Okay. Fun times as always. Moving on to some very important stuff. Okay. President Donald Trump claimed that he will be the anti-war president that will end foreign entanglements, put America first, and bring peace to his new empire. I mean, keep us out of wars. Except no, that he won't. The recent attacks on Iran by Israel, who has also been waging an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza, have the explicit backing of Donald Trump, who has warned residents of Tehran to, evacuate. Oh, you better get out of there because, of what's coming. Now, if you couple the things that he has said with the fact that Trump has not ruled out getting involved in the conflict that has been started by Israel, uh-oh. Oh, no.
Oh, no!
Not good. We might end up being drawn into a disastrous war with Iran. Yeah, no, not good. Now, Trump also told reporters aboard Air Force One, quote, "We'll come down so hard if they do anything to our people." Okay, now, this is also in addition to claiming that Iran is about ready to get weapons of mass destruction. Uh-oh, where have we heard that one before? It's like, here comes neoconservatism. It's back. We got the same thing. Oh, weapons of mass destruction. They're about to get a nuke. They're about to get a nuke. We have to. Oh, no. Not only is this reminiscent of that incorrect argument that was used to justify one of the biggest foreign policy blunders of the century, but it also undercuts Donald Trump's own intelligence agency. Trump was asked on Tuesday about Tulsi Gabbard's testimony back in March in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee, where she said that Iran was simply not building a nuclear weapon. Trump responded with, "I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one." Oh, they were very close to having one. And where's your evidence of that? No, none. Now, of course, all of this is starting to get some pushback from America First. Oh, here we go. People like, for example, former Fox News host Tucker Carlson, who had told Steve Bannon on his podcast, this was on the War Room podcast Monday, quote, "You're not going to convince me that the Iranian people are my enemy." Again, we're going down this here. Here's who you're required to hate. It's Orwell, man. I'm a free man. You're not telling me who I have to hate. I'll decide who I like and don't like. Oh, this is the start of broken clocks. Broken clocks everywhere. Because, yes, I do agree with Tucker Carlson that the Iranian people are not our enemy. In fact, actually, it's not me agreeing with Tucker Carlson. It's Tucker Carlson and these right-wingers agreeing with the left, who are not interested in getting into a war with Iran. Again, the Iranian people, not our enemy. Their government sure sucks. I don't like fundamentalist governments. I don't want our government becoming a fundamentalist government either. But again, I don't think that we should be engaging in regime change. That's a disaster. And look, here's the thing, the ironic thing about all this, right? The current Iranian government is actually the end result of our attempt at regime change before. Yes, the CIA, Mossad, whatever, we helped topple their democratically elected government because they tried to nationalize their oil. Okay. We installed a brutal dictator, the Shah, and then watched with Pikachu face when people rebelled against it. Yes. And installed in its place a fundamentalist religious regime. Now, so yeah, huge problem. Okay. We built that. Not good at all. Now, Carlson also criticized Trump last week for being complicit in Israel's attack on Iran, and even suggested that Trump betrayed the swing state voters who elected him in part because he promised to end U.S. involvement in wars abroad. He added that the U.S. is on the cusp of entering a war on behalf of a political leader in a faraway country that's really going to hurt my country. Oh, man. When you lose Tucker Carlson, oof. Now, of course, Laura Loomer's like, who cares? Tucker Carlson, not really. It's never really America First or MAGA or anything like that. So just ignore him. Oh, okay, but it's not just Tucker Carlson. You also have Charlie Kirk.
We should not invade Iran, and we should not support regime change. Sometimes you get something way worse. Like Iraq, you get ISIS. Libya, you get civil war. This has unforeseen and often disastrous consequences. And that's why we should avoid reckless regime change wars when we can.
Oh my God. Oh, geez, the broken clocks. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. What? But that's not all. You also have, oh boy, podcaster and frequent Joe Rogan guest, Dave Smith.
Yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one. Wow. And not on some like not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is like yeah.
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I know I don't just speak for myself when I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this.
Whoa, the broken clocks. They're everywhere. And look, I agree. I do not want us involved in stupid regime change wars. And most of the American people agree. Okay. Again, and by the way, this is something that all Americans should be fighting against. War in Iran. Okay. We're not at all interested in this. We're not at all interested. Not only that, but Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's right. She posted on X, formerly Twitter, that, quote, "We are sick and tired of foreign wars and that Real America First / MAGA wants world peace for all people." Now, obviously, her post is not going to mention Donald Trump by name. No. But she also said everyone is finding out who the Real America First / MAGA are and who were fake. Which apparently includes Donald Trump. Look, Donald Trump being fake America First is exactly what the left have been saying about him all along. Wow, nice of you to actually get clued in for once, MAGA people. Look, at the end of the day, Donald Trump wants to be a tough guy, okay? He keeps saying, Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. Very simple. Regardless, Israel or not Israel, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. You know what that's going to make people in Iran want? A nuclear bomb. It's going to make them want even more so they can protect themselves against Israel and the United States. Look, at the end of the day, we had a deal with Iran. Donald Trump ripped it up for no other reason than, well, Obama. The fact that Obama did it. And now it looks like the chickens might be coming home to roost, which may or may not lead us into World War III. And now some Trump voters are starting to realize that we have made a huge mistake. A little late for that now. Again, I really, really hope that we do not get involved in this ridiculous, disastrous war, okay, that was started by Israel. And I hope that these MAGA supporters finally start to realize that, it turns out that Trump was lying to us the whole time. I know, it's a vain hope, but what are you going to do? Okay. Moving on, let's go to Don Jr. Fun times. Donald Trump Jr. continues to lie about where the majority of political violence in America is coming from. On News Nation Monday, Don Jr. repeated the false claims that the suspect in the fatal shooting of a Democratic lawmaker in Minnesota was a leftist.
To folks in this region who are...
Whoopsie. Let me go and fix that real quick. I think I forgot to put
To folks in this region who are...
You know, they talk a lot about, the rhetoric and the violence, and yet it seems to be mostly caused by them. The 2020 summer of love did not seem like a summer of love. The politicians at high-level places encouraging people to attack my father did not seem fair. If Republicans were doing that, they'd be thrown in jail. When a Democrat does it, it's to preserve democracy. You don't think everybody's got to tune it down a little bit or turn it down a little bit? Listen, I think what we have to actually do, I would love to see all of that turned down, but I think I'm seeing it come from the left. Everyone talks about Minnesota, but they don't talk about the guy seems to be a leftist. It's a Minnesota politician, or guy who was appointed by the Democrat governor, vice presidential candidate for the Democrat Party, Tim Walz. The guy that committed those atrocities this weekend is a Democrat that worked for Tim Walz, that had the flyers about the No Kings thing in there.
Now, I'm not sure about that, by the way, from what I've seen. I think he voted for your dad and things like that, from what I've seen.
I'll believe that when I see it. But he was appointed by Tim Walz, a Democrat governor who's an ardent leftist pushing these things, and he attacked someone who voted against. He attacked a Democrat who voted against giving taxpayer funding and free health care to illegals across America. I mean, that doesn't seem like that should be a controversial thing to vote against. But if you're a Democrat that breaks away from the Democrats, they'll commit violence amongst themselves, it seems. And so that is scary. That should upset a lot of people. But watching the framing that this is some sort of MAGA person, it's just so predictable at this point. It's such nonsense.
It's so predictable, everybody. It's so predictable. No, what is predictable is you project it. Okay, that's it. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, though. The man voted for Trump, and it was a registered Republican when he lived in Oklahoma. Okay, that's according, and he was a strong Trump supporter, according to his own roommate. And according to police, which apparently you don't believe anyway, he had a target list, okay, that included top Minnesota Democrats, including Governor Tim Walz. Oh, what? Tim Walz was on the list. Wait, what? Yes. Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat, Amy Klobuchar, Keith Ellison, Senator Tammy Baldwin, Representatives Debbie Dingell, Hillary Scholten, Joyce Beatty, Marcy Kaptur, Greg Landsman, Shri Tanadar, and Veronica Escobar. They were on that list, along with, of course, abortion providers. I don't know, man. If you have a hit list of abortion providers and a whole bunch of Democrats, you're probably right-wing. Okay, very likely. Now, of course, police are not ready to announce a motive, probably because he's right-wing. Let's be honest. Look, that's where the majority of political violence actually comes from, the right wing. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, since 1994, right-wing extremists drove over 90% of terror plots and attacks from January to May of 2020. The GAO in DHS reported that 35% of the 231 domestic terrorism incidents between 2010 and 2021 were racially or ethnically motivated, largely tied to far-right ideologies like white supremacy and anti-government militias. The Anti-Defamation League, which has a right-wing bias, notes that right-wing extremists committed 75% of 450 extremist murders from 2008 to 2017, causing 338 deaths compared to just 4% by left-wing groups. The Global Terrorism Database attributes 35% of 263 incidents from 2010 to 2017 to right-wing terrorism, outpacing Islamist 14% and left-wing 13% attacks. That said, these numbers are likely on the low side. How so? Well, it turns out that a lot of studies separate ethno-nationalist and religious terrorism. often aligned, of course, with right-wing ideologies into distinct categories. Ethno-nationalist attacks rooted in white supremacist or anti-immigrant beliefs, and religious extremism like Christian nationalist violence share conservative ideological underpinnings, but are often excluded from these right-wing tallies, skewing data to downplay the broader far-right footprint. What does that mean? It means it ain't the left doing the violence. I do, however, love the right wing's consistent inconsistency on this issue. On the one hand, apparently they believe that all lefties are weak, effeminate soy boys with purple hair and neo-pronouns. That they are the weak men that are creating the hard times. But at the same time, apparently, they are also, the left, are super strong, violent terrorist rioters that are burning down all of the cities. That doesn't make any sense. It is a contradiction. There's a lot of it. A lot of contradictions here, but here's the thing, okay?
Just forget about the evidence.
Just forget about it. Just forget about it. Yeah, that's what they're saying. They don't have to make sense. Okay, when you're on the right, you don't have to make sense. It's true. It's true. So, look, another thing that Don Jr. said, and this is another example of not making any sense, is that in this interview, he claimed that transgender Americans are the most violent domestic terror threat in America, probably the entire world. What? What? He said, because you have all these shooters or murderers or attempted murderers in such a tiny population of a country, yet they're beyond reproach. He says that they do more violence per capita, which is not at all true. Not at all true. Victor Asal, a University at Albany political science professor, spoke to PolitiFact last year about the alleged transgender violence. And he asked, is there a serious threat by trans people in terms of violence? Well, if you compare it to extremist right-wingers and all sorts of other extremists, I think the answer is very easy. And the answer is no. Yeah. Exactly. Henry Fredella, an Arizona State University professor of criminology and criminal justice, who has studied the data, told NBC News, quote, there is no evidence whatsoever that trans people are any more dangerous than cisgender people. The Department of Homeland Security's most recent Homeland Threat Assessment also makes no explicit mention of transgender people, and the department warned in 2023 that threats of violence against them are actually on the rise. Shocker. What's happening, though, is that whenever there is a domestic terror event, people on the online right immediately will blame either the left or trans people, or both. Doesn't matter what the facts are, as I mentioned.
Just forget about the evidence.
Where the evidence is, it's not a concern for them. They just make things up. And then they will continue, once they got a talking point, they will continue to spread it. They'll lie about it over and over again until people accept it or until they move on to the next lie. Look, the reality is, of course, that transgender people are disproportionately likely to be the victims of violent crime. And that it is the far right that are disproportionately the ones that are committing said violence. Period. Okay? That said, of course, no amount of evidence or facts are going to sway them because they are in a cult. And the number one rule of being a member of the cult is to always listen and obey the cult leader. That's it. And that's what this is. Don Jr. is out there giving the talking points to members of the cult because one of them having to go off on themselves, by themselves and do a violent act. That's it. They went off and committed some violence. And blaming the left for them allows them to, for one, never condemn or apologize for the violence because it was against their political opponents. So, of course, they love this violence, okay? And it also serves to further radicalize their own members to do more violence against the left. Because, oh my gosh, did you know that the left are committing violence against their own and against everybody else? Oh, we got to do something about it. That's how they operate. So, in a way, it is a win-win situation for them, but a massive loss for everyone else. All right. One more story here, and we're going to end on some good news. Oh, did you look at that? All right. Senator Bernie Sanders has officially thrown his support behind progressive mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. Oh, yeah. In a statement on Tuesday morning, Sanders wrote this, quote, "We need a new politics and new leadership which is prepared to stand up to powerful corporate interests and fight for the working class. Zohran Mamdani is running an inspirational grassroots campaign centered on the construction of 200,000 new affordable housing units, a rent freeze, free public buses, cutting fines and fees for small businesses, investing in citywide mental health services, city-owned grocery stores," oh, I love it, "universal free childcare, and a minimum wage increase. He will pay for this agenda by asking corporations and the richest 1% of New Yorkers to pay their fair share in taxes. Unlike the corporate Democratic establishment, Zohran is funding his campaign largely through small dollar donations, including more than 27,000 individual contributions. At this pivotal and dangerous moment in American history, status quo politics is not good enough. We need the kind of visionary leadership that Zohran is providing in this campaign. In my view, Zohran Mamdani is the best choice for mayor of New York City." Yes, I love it. Now, here's the thing. Why did it take Bernie Sanders so long? I mean, that is the question. I still think that both he and AOC were a bit too cautious in their endorsements, but you know what? Apparently, that didn't seem to hurt, like, especially the AOC endorsement, which I was slightly critical of because of the timing, not because of the actual endorsement here. I thought that maybe it was too late, but it turns out maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it had the effect of, oh, look, here, here is this endorsement, and it's right before the last debate, right before, and of course, Bernie Sanders' endorsement is right after that last debate where Mamdani just absolutely cooked Andrew Cuomo, which was great. It was fun to see. And so maybe the timing wasn't as much of an issue as early voting has already begun now. Okay, wonderful. So I still wonder why it took him so long, but you know what? If as long as he wins, I don't care. Okay, that's it. Now, Mamdani responded with a statement reading in part, quote, "As mayor, I will strive each and every day to live up to Senator Sanders' example, making New York affordable and hopefully making Brooklyn's own proud." So, yes, I'm glad that the endorsements have been made, especially since early voting is now underway. Awesome. Now, Mamdani has been polling barely behind former Governor Andrew Cuomo in most polls. In some, he happens to be ahead. And that, by the way, has scared the ever-living crap out of the political establishment. They have rallied behind Cuomo. And, of course, the big reason here is Cuomo will not raise their taxes. He just won't do it. And so, yes, that's exactly why the political establishment, why the millionaires and billionaires in New York, the political and economic establishment is in favor of Cuomo. In fact, on Monday, the New York Times editorial board put out an op-ed urging voters in New York to not vote for Mamdani, writing in part, "We do not believe that Mr. Mamdani deserves a spot on New Yorkers' ballots." Oh, they are so scared. His experience is too thin. And his agenda reads like a turbocharged version of Mr. de Blasio's dismaying mayorality. Now, funny enough, though, last week a Times opinion panel did come out in support of New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. Now, the reason that it's funny here is that Mamdani and Lander have gotten into a bit of an agreement. Yes, they have pledged to endorse each other in this primary. So now the reason that they can do that is there is ranked choice voting in New York City. So getting together with Lander and Mamdani joining forces is a bit of a progressive power move. And I love it. Now, Lander is currently running in third. Okay, so this unity here between Mamdani and Lander could end up being enough to take out Cuomo. Oh, I'd love to see it. So here we go. We got a little progressive unity here. I mean, you got AOC, you got Bernie Sanders, you got Lander, and you know, of course, Mamdani also supporting Lander. If Mamdani does not win, they're all lining up behind each other, as well as former state assemblyman Michael Blake. They're all working together to try to defeat Andrew Cuomo and to ensure that there is a progressive mayor of New York City in order to replace Eric Adams and prevent Cuomo from getting back into power. If Mamdani wins, the word is, of course, that he'll appoint Lander to be the first deputy mayor, the equivalent to the city's chief operating officer. Now, if Lander wins, one could assume that Mamdani would also get a similar deal. Great. Now, that, of course, is something that the establishment is desperate to stop from happening. I mean, they're out there saying things like, did you know Mamdani's a socialist? He's going to bankrupt New York. He's going to chase out all the billionaires. They're going to go somewhere else. That argument came from an ex-Obama Treasury advisor named Antonia Weiss, who is estimated to be worth about $200 million. So yeah, you've got the very rich. You've got real estate. You've got Wall Street. They do not want to be taxed. They don't want to be taxed fairly. And so, of course, they're coming out with guns blazing against Mamdani and in favor of Cuomo. Cuomo, of course, had to resign in disgrace for being a sex pest. So now that tells you, like, do they care about women? No. No, but the establishment has shown that they will weaponize women and people of color and use it against progressives. But when it comes down to it, their real concern always ends up being their money, keeping their money, and keeping their political power. So there you go. That was the good news. I will take what little good news I can get. It may seem small, but small victories tend, I think, to add up. So, anyway, now, no more Cuomo, says Grumpy Cat. Exactly. Newsom, I don't trust. Oh yeah, I don't trust Newsom either. Not at all. Let's see. Even though I'm like, I like that he's actually fighting against Donald Trump now, instead of course, inviting people like him or Charlie Kirk onto his podcast. He's actually taking a strong stance against ICE, against the immigration raids in his state, and standing up against Donald Trump. It took him long enough to do it, but I'm glad he actually is. So, but yes, that is the good story, and that is, again, because good news is hard to find, everybody. Okay. Now, let's see. Couple of super chats here to read. Crimson Spice 72. Thank you for the very kind $20 super chat. Really, really appreciate that. V-Man 29397 says all this war in the Middle East is just for Bibi to delay his criminal trial. Yes, because he is corrupt. And so he is corrupt, and he couldn't keep his governing coalition together without starting some new war. And so you're absolutely right there, V-Man. This war in Iran is to pivot as Gaza fatigue is growing in the establishment. And, it should have been, the establishment should have been against what's going on in Gaza. But, of course, unfortunately, you have the influence of AIPAC and all of that right-wing money that is, trying to get people to just look away from the genocide. You can't call it a genocide, even though it's actually, yes, it is a genocide, but you can't call it that because that's anti-Semitic. Yeah. So there you go. But thank you, VMan29397, and thank you, Crimson Spice 72. Really appreciate that. Problem with the left in the U.S., he says, is we struggle with messaging and a lack of slogans. Puerto Rico, the left has united under the slogan Patria Nueva, which means new homeland. It resonates easily. Yes, there is a messaging problem on the left. There's also cohesion problems on the left with us, some of us not wanting to work with each other. Oh God, there's so many different problems. Some of which, of course, are infiltrators, people who come in and pretend to be left and sow division and discord, all that stuff. But yes, messaging, simple messaging, yes, that does help. That is effective. But at the same time, you really do have to tailor a working class message, which is what Mamdani has been doing. He's been saying, look, yes, things are too expensive in New York. We got to do something about that. He has been making his campaign about economic populism, and that is why he's been incredibly effective at catching up to Cuomo. So there you go. Except that it has real policy behind it. Yes, you do also need to have real policy behind it. Of course. Power to the people has a ring to it. Yes, power to the people, of course. And also, once again, I'm going to make things cheaper. That's a pretty good winning message. I am going to fight for you. I am going to make things cheaper. I am going to stop rent from going up. All that stuff. Effective. It is economic populism that will help. That does help progressive campaigns. And so, I definitely think that that Mamdani has been very effective at communicating that and promoting a good progressive message and future. So, anyway, thank you for the super chats. Thank you for watching. Please, if you haven't already, like and share the stream. Important that you do so. Let's see. I think Tim Walz would be a great president. He has extremely high communication skills. He served in the military, but he's kind-hearted, is what racists will dislike. Tim Walz is guy. I like Tim Walz as well. And so, yes, I'm in favor. I'm in favor of seeing him run in 2028. I think that would be great. But we'll have to see how the primary shapes up. Because I don't know who's gonna jump in. If Newsom jumps in, ooh no, not in favor of that. But Walz, I could definitely see. So, but we will see, of course, who actually jumps in to these primaries. And by the way, we also still need to see what happens in 2026. So, all right. Anyway, thank you once again, everybody, for watching the show. Like and share the stream. If you want to support us, you can hit the join button below on YouTube. You can also go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, and sign up to become a supporter. You can also listen to the show, download it, whatever, ad-free. You can listen to it on our Patreon. You don't have to actually sign up to support us in order to have access to the full audio live version of the show, the podcast version, but it's highly recommended that you support the show because, well, if you like the show and you can afford us, why wouldn't you support it? I'm just saying. And, you know, $1, $5, $3, whatever you can use to support us, it goes a long way. And so please consider becoming a patron or a channel supporter. All right. That said, I'm out of here for the day. Tomorrow, I will be doing the show on This Space. So it's youtube.com/thisspacetv. I will be going live and doing the show for that audience, and I will be back on my channel Thursday. So, you know, check that out. This space has a lot of great progressive content, progressive programming, all that wonderful stuff. So, yeah, check that out, and I will be there 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. If you miss that, the clips are still going to go up on my channel. So, no problems there. But anyway, hope to see you at this space. And to everyone else, love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. We'll see you later.